Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chronicles of Hollywood History, past, present, and future. Welcome. And here now, Corey Gomez.
Hello everyone and welcome. I am here with Ryuhei Kitamura, director of, you might know him here in the States from Versus, The Midnight Meat Train, Battlefield Baseball, one of my favorites, Godzilla Final Wars, and the upcoming film The Doorman. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
I guess before I ask about any of the old classics that I mentioned, you have a new film coming out with Ruby Rose. I actually just interviewed Mr. Simon Rhee. Tell us a little about the stunt work. It's called The Doorman. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's been a long load. The script first came to me like 5 years ago, and set up the movie and actually make it and release it. It's kind of like a miracle in this crazy industry. So took us a long time, but everything started to really move when I met Ruby last, I think it was like February. I met her and we had a coffee together, talked about an hour and a half, and we just fell in love with each other, decided to do this, and then everything started to move. And I've known Simon for a couple of years now. I first met his brother, Philip Rhee, the legend. And yeah, it was like 3-4 years ago. We were trying to do this movie, The Doorman. I was having lunch with Philip, and I said, who can you suggest? Everybody in the action industry, who's the best one? He said, well, my brother. And he introduced me to Simon, and yeah, we are like brothers now. It's great.
Well, and you've got a good cast. I mean, you have Jean Reno, and Ruby Rose is, real hot right now after that first season of Batwoman. So this is going to be like the first time we're seeing her in anything since Batwoman came to an end a few months back.
Sorry?
Oh, no, go ahead. I apologize.
No. She was, I have nothing but pure respect and love for Ruby. She was amazing. And the moment I had a coffee with her, that's when we actually started making this movie. So, she was amazing.
Now, for those that haven't heard about it, what is The Doorman about?
Well, title says it all. Ruby Rose is the doorman. She's like an ex-soldier, and she has this dramatic events happens at the beginning of the movie. So she quit, comes back to New York, and started working as the doorman. And wrong place at the wrong time. And Jean Reno and his team of terrorists comes in, lock down the entire building because they're looking for something hidden inside the building. And now the Ruby Rose, the doorman, has to fight against all those badass terrorists. So that's basically that's what it is.
Now, a lot of people here, at least here in the States, we all know you because Verse is really it's hard to believe it's 20 years old now. Kind of exploded there. You had Versus, Battlefield Baseball, Azumi, a lot of horror titles. Do you have a preference to doing like horror movies as opposed to action movies?
No. I love both. I love all kinds of movie. Even the love story or comedy. I don't mind. As a fan, I watch all kinds of movie. But I haven't done any horror movie when I was in Japan, which was very weird. Because a movie I did back there was like Versus, Aragami, Alive, Azumi, Sky High, Godzilla, so it's not really horror movie, right? But probably because of my first American movie, The Midnight Meat Train, people put me in the category of this hardcore horror director. So, yeah, I understand. I did The Midnight Meat Train, No One Lives, Downrange, Nightmare Cinema, but I never really considered myself as a horror director. I was always considered myself as more like action director. So, that's why I was so excited to do The Doorman, because it is my first action movie in America. So I'm kind of love to do both movie. Sometimes action, sometimes horror. But after I did, especially after I did No One Lives, Downrange, Nightmare Cinema, I was I told my manager that, I'm kind of I want to walk away from the horror for a while. And so Doorman was the, good opportunity to do the action movie. But of course, I will. There's a couple of projects I'm working on right now, which is horror. So I'll do both.
Now, being you're friends with Philip and Simon Ray, is there a chance that you may get behind the camera and we'll finally see Best of the Best 5?
That's you have to convince Philip to do it.
I mean, if I get the chance to talk to him, I'm going to convince him to do it.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I had to do it. I mean, Philip and I trying to do the movie together. He wrote a couple of amazing scripts, and which he wrote the script and he's going to produce, and I'm going to direct, and of course Simon going to be the stunt coordinator if we do it. So we've been trying to set that up, and everything takes time in Hollywood, but I'm sure we will, because that's what I told Philip, like last week when he connect me with you, that come on, three brothers, me, Simon, Philip, we have to do the movie together. So we will. I don't know when, but we will do something together.
Anything good is worth waiting for. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Now going back 20 years, because that's it might have been it's been about 20 years I think now since Versus hit, and that exploded over here. I mean, you had the martial art fans like myself liked it. You had the punk fans liked it because the look, the Evil Dead cult of fans just embraced it, and it was. Did you ever think that film would become such a heavy cult classic over time?
I was very confident when I was making movie. 20 years ago, I was nobody, no money, no future guy in Japan, and most of the crew and the cast were like amateur, when we were making that movie. So, but I don't know why I was crazy enough to believe that this is the movie gonna change my life, and this gonna be the big hit, and open up the doors to Hollywood. That was my intention, and I had a confidence from the beginning. Because in Japan, they don't make that kind of movie anymore. Especially 20 years ago, they weren't even making much of the action movie, and of course, never like zombie movie in Japan. So everybody was, like, are you dreaming? I mean, this is animation script, video game, manga script. You're not going to do the live action, So I was on my own, with basically my friends, and we locked ourselves in the deep mountain in Japan for a couple months. And when every time I ran out of the money, I called somebody asking for money to buy food or the film. So it was I don't know. I don't even remember how I did that, but I was asking for money, or a lot of people money, and while I was making the movie. So but somehow, I knew that if this movie didn't work out, and then I'm dead. After all this trouble I caused to all the people around me and asking, to give me money to make the movie. But somehow, I just knew that, once I complete this movie, this is it. This is the once in a lifetime opportunity to basically flip my life and, become a winner from the loser. So I'm really glad that movie worked out. And, still after 20 years, no matter where I go all over the world, people love that movie and, asking me about that movie. So I'm very proud of what I did 20 years ago.
My son is 11. He's a huge fan of the Rees, the Best of the Best films. And I showed him Versus, maybe about a year ago or so. And he loved it. I mean, he just, like everybody, it's timeless.
That's very, great to hear that, That's what I try to do, when I was basically broken, had nothing but the faith in myself, and I just wanted to make something that changed my life. I'm gonna last, and that's what after I became the professional, every single movie I try to do that, something that can be timeless. After 10 years, 5 years, people still, talks about. So even like a Godzilla Final Wars, that was the biggest challenge. But like every 3 months, somewhere from all over the world, and I get a request to do the interview for that movie. So I'm very glad that still after that movie, already 16 years ago, Godzilla, and still everybody loves that movie. So that gives me energy to move on.
What was it like? Because I'm a big, my son and I both are actually big Final War fans. It's the neatest looking Gigan, how everyone says it different. The neatest looking one we've ever seen. But the two things that I'm the most curious of is I'm not the biggest fan of the Godzilla movies that we do here in the States because everything's CG'd. You still worked with a lot of stop motion and everything, and like old-fashioned creature suits in yours, correct?
Yeah, because that was back in 2004. I was making that movie, and Toho decided to just. Everybody knew that it's not going to be their last movie, but for a while, they decided to stop it. So I knew that in 2004, that was like especially in Japan, there was a transition time from the analog to digital. So I just knew that, whenever they reboot this Godzilla, it's going to be full CGI anyway. So I just wanted to show respect, and, I told the producer and everybody that, let's go back to this, old school way, which is man in suit, and because this will be the last. So that was fun, I'm not a big fan of the using too much, CGI, too. So I just really wanted to grab this, classic feeling of handmade movies.
How uncomfortable do you think it is for the guy in that suit? Out of curiosity, I've always wondered that because I've been watching Godzilla since I was a little boy, So and I do prefer the classic guy in suit, but I mean, is how much does that thing weigh? Out of curiosity.
I don't know when, but it is heavy. But the suit actor, they were basically the stunt people. So they have this amazing athlete skill, and they're so they have everything, and even the suit actor who was inside the Godzilla, he's been playing Godzilla for, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years maybe. So he was longer inside the Godzilla than my directing career. So he knew everything about how to move, how to deal with it. But the first thing I told on the very first meeting was it was Mr. Wakasa who designed Godzilla and the monsters. First thing in the very first meeting with the producer and everybody, I said that I really want to do this MMA style monster fight, which I haven't seen in the previous movie, because I understand the suit is like so heavy you can't really do action. But the very first meeting, that was my idea. I really want to do this animalistic fight, and Mr. Wakasa did an amazing job to create the suit, with the skill, you can do the action.
One of the things that and I want to know if this was your idea, but which got a big pop, so to speak, for me, and I think every Godzilla fan around the world, is the 3-second fight where Godzilla kills the 1998 or something, the Roland Emmerich version of Godzilla is what he's known as now. Fans, whose idea was that to do that? It was a great laugh, but whose idea was it to do that?
No, that was actually Mr. Tomiyama, the producer. He was the guy, producing all those, Heisei Godzilla movies, so he's the Mr. Godzilla. And so when we were dealing, still trying to figure out the story and, which monster, of course, we wanted the more the better, but, there's a limit, so we can't bring in every single monster. So, we were basically, at the meeting, we were playing with, all those, the monster figures. And that's when Mr. Tomiyama said that, do you know that? Do you know what? We even have the rights for that Godzilla. So like, really? If you have the rights, we have to use it. I have to let them fight. I I wish I had a little bit more budget and do the longer fight, but of course with that many monster, there's we couldn't really spend time on each monster. So but still, it was pure fun. Especially that part took place in Sydney, Australia, which is kind of like my hometown. I lived there when I was 10, and I even went back study filmmaking. So it is like my hometown. So so that's the first thing I said. Okay, in front of the Opera House and the Harbor Bridge, Hollywood Godzilla versus Japanese Godzilla. So that was a fun moment.
My son he was so impressed with the Gigan Final Word design. He actually has a big statue of him on his desk in his room to this day. So he was that's his favorite Godzilla villain of all time. That look, as opposed to the original look.
Yes. I mean that was yeah. I mean, immediately when I started thinking about the Gigan, there's only one guy who came up to me. His name is Yasushi Nirasawa, genius designer, and he passed away years ago, but I was good friend with him. So I went to drink with him and said hey, I need you to reimagine Gigan, and he did amazing job. That is Gigan is my favorite monster too.
Yeah, I mean that's little known trivia fans. If you go back to the very early Godzilla versus Gigan, he's the first monster to make Godzilla bleed. So it was very nice to see him all mechanical steroided up, so to speak. It was really neat.
No, I mean, Mr. Nirasawa did an amazing job, and still keep the spirit of the original, design, and he just elevated everything. I love the monster. Mm-hmm.
Now, as someone who does martial arts, I've always, of course, been a big fight fan, Ultimate Fighting, Pride Fighting. And the first person I noticed in that film, and my son and I sat down to watch it, was, of course, Don Fry, who was one of my favorite fighters. That was his first film, I believe. How did he get cast in that? I was shocked to see him. I had to stare for a few minutes and be like, that's Don Fry.
Because he was the biggest Toho studio movie that year, 2004, and it had huge budget for a Japanese movie, right? Of course, nothing compared to Hollywood big movie, but for the Japanese movie, it had huge budget, and because it was a big 50th anniversary celebration, we really wanted to do this wild global fight. So for that role, Captain Gordon, we approached a couple of Hollywood star. Who even I don't know if they producer really approached them, or that the names came up for the role was Jean Reno, of course, and Don Johnson, Christopher Lambert, and even Sonny Chiba. All those names came up.
Now, Sonny Chiba, I would have probably popped more for Sonny Chiba than Don Fry. No offense to Don Fry, but I'm a big Sonny Chiba fan.
Yeah, so all those names came up, but it's either schedule issue or the price. I don't know, but they didn't work out. So then, as you know, Pride was huge. K1 Pride was huge in Japan. Back in 2003, 2004, right? And I am a big martial arts fan, fighting fan. So I said, why don't we just go to Don Fry? So the producer was like, oh, that might be, and and the way Don walks into the ring, and when they call his name, and the way he turns, I just knew that this guy can act. This guy can act. So he had a fight, and he was in Japan. So I took him out to a Korean barbecue dinner, and Don't ask me Ryuhei-san, how do you think that I can do it? I'm a fighter. I know how to beat up people, but I don't know how to act. So I said the same thing. Come on, the way you walk up to the ring, the way you turn, the way you fight, trust me, I know you can. And after this one dinner, he was in, and it was just pure fun with sweetest guy on earth. It was pure fun. Next 3-4 months with Don, he was amazing. I love that guy to death. I loved him.
He did a great job. And then, of course, I got to mention in the Midnight Meat Train, everybody's like, oh, it's one of Bradley Cooper's first movies. That was one of Rampage Jackson's first movies, because I noticed him where I was like, oh my God, that's Rampage. Was it kind of the same thing? Just as a fan of fights, you wanted to get Rampage in one of the films?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. He never done acting, but I thought that it'd be so funny that if he plays that role. So I met him, and he was in, and it was so fun filming that fight between him and Vinnie Jones. Because all those all the fighter, I have a lot of fighter friends. So like even like Masakatsu Funaki, legendary fighter who fought Hickson Gracie, he's in Godzilla, right? So all the fighter friend I have, they are like the sweetest person, kindest person, right? So of course, even the Rampage Jackson, there's nothing Rampage about him when he's not fighting. He's like the sweetest guy, and he never done any acting. Only thing he did was like real fighting, right? So he was so afraid to actually hit Vinny. So when we were doing that action scene, and he was so slow, so kind. So I walk up to Creighton and say like, hey, I mean, you have to. It's just too slow, too soft, and you have to do it as you try to kill this guy. And we tried again and again and again. He's like, no, I'm afraid that I hit him. So I said, come on, it's Vinnie Jones. Even
he can take a punch.
Even though you hit him, doesn't matter. It's a Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
So. And then we tried, and he couldn't nail it. So I lost my temper. So I ran to him and said, Quentin, what are you doing? Do it like this. So I showed the fighting style against Vinnie Jones, and Quentin is like, "Wow, you good, boss? Like, no, you good. You fight him." So in the end, that scene turned out great.
He was such a natural in that. Just like even, he was one of the few fighters that when he would do his interviews, he was almost like a pro wrestler. He had that charisma, and he could get under your skin. And I mean, I'm surprised he didn't, of course he had the A-Team, which is a big budget film, but I'm surprised he didn't really go on to become a full-time actor. He's naturally gifted in it.
He is. I mean, all the fighters, I mean, they know how to show them, all those great fighters. So it was so much fun working with. I always love to work with the fighters.
And was that another one that when you made that, did you ever think it would go on to become such a huge midnight movie and a cult film over here?
Which one?
The Midnight Meat Train. Did you ever figure that would be another one that would go on to be popular years later?
That's what I always try. I always try to do something, something special, something gonna last. So and especially Midnight Meat Train, that's based on the Clive Barker's book. And Clive Barker is a legend, so I just knew that I can't mess with this. It's Clive Barker, so if I can't do it right, then I shouldn't touch it. So I was very motivated because it was my first American movie. It was Clive Barker, and so I was, and that was making the movie was working with Bradley Cooper, Leslie Big, Brooke Shields. I mean, making that movie was pure fun, and I'm very proud of the movie. And I still remember that the very first time we did the screening for the crew and the cast and the family and friends. Right after the screening, Clive had a tear in his eyes, and he just hugged me. And he's like so strong, so he hugged me, and he gave me biggest smile. So I was very happy that moment.
It was a great movie.
Thank you.
Another one I really like is No One Lives, and it's kind of funny because you had, of course, Luke Evans is awesome. Lee Tergesen is an amazing actor, and instead of a MMA fighter, you had a WWE wrestler, Tyrus Brodus Clay in that. How was was there any kind of difference between working with an MMA fighter as opposed to a professional wrestler, or were they? No,
it's the same. But the Brodus was like super funny guy, and he was a huge fan of Godzilla Final Wars. So the very first time we met, he just kept on talking about the Godzilla final rules. So like, we had a good start. And that scene that Luke Evans coming out of Broder's dead body, that was already in the script. So naturally, we had to find the big guy can keep Luke Evans inside. So it was like destiny that then and it was a WWE movie. So they said like we have this big guy. I'm like, oh, I like this guy.
Oh yeah, he's.
And he was just making everybody laugh every day. It was great.
No, and then Nightmare Cinema, you got to work with Mickey Rourke. What was that like? I always hear you hear different things.
No, that part was directed by my buddy Mick Garris. So I didn't have a chance to meet him, But Mick and I tried to do that for like almost like 10 years. Everything takes time in Hollywood. So but Mick finally made it. So then Mick is the one came up with that Nightmare Cinema concept. Five of us, friends, director, we do each segment, but how do we connect? And Mick came up with this. How about this? Nightmare Cinema in this kind of like Twilight Zone, and show you how you died, and like that's a cool concept. So Mick is the one responsible for that concept, and that's why he deserved to direct Mickey Rourke, and we were so excited when he got on board.
Do you have any preference as far as do you prefer doing movies in overseas or American films, or do you have a preference at all, or are they both fun to you?
No, I mean, I live in LA, so for 13 years now. So obviously, Hollywood is my base camp. But I'm doing probably 2 movies next year in Japan. I haven't done movie for like 8 years in Japan. So here and there, I like to go back and do something different. Making movies, it's challenging no matter where you are, but when I go to Japan, I want to do something that I can only do in Japan, and here in Hollywood, which is probably much more complicated, long shot to set up the movie. Then there's a lot of voices from 25 producers and you have to somehow fight through all this enemy within. So it's a different world, But of course, in the Japanese film industry is very small, so you can't really do big action movie unless it's based on the manga or the animation, live adaptation. So this 2 movie I'm trying to do I'm going to do in Japan is very different from what I did before. This is like it's not horror, it's not action, it's something very different, But I'm very excited because I can challenge myself, because I'm not really interested in repeating myself or copying somebody's work. So
can you let us know what it is, or can you let us know what it is, or do you have to keep that secret for a little bit?
I can't tell you, but okay. Then this year I'm going back to horror this year. I do 1 movie in America, which one I'm started working on like months ago, and I just fell in love with the script. It's amazing script. It's kind of like in the zone of No One Lives. Mm-hmm. So probably this one, the most violent, most gore movie I ever made. So that's what excited me. So this movie we plan to do this year.
What was your horror influences? Like, what were some of the horror movies that you grew up and really enjoyed and really liked and kind of took into everything that you do?
I mean, I got influence from all those golden age of 80s action movies, sci-fi movie, horror movies. So horror movie, of course, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Texas Chainsaw. I love all the 70s, 80s great horror movies. But I think probably big influence from, of course, from Evil Dead, you know, and all those zombie movies. Basically, Versus idea came to me when I was working the script because I met this guy Yuda Yamaguchi, who's the director of Battlefield Stadium. I just produced that movie. He was the director. Yeah. Very first time I met Yuda, we both knew that we were like movie geek, and we started talking what do you like, and we instantly connected because our favorite movie we mentioned was Highlander and Lucio Fulci's Zombie. So like you like Highlander and he likes Lucio Fulci's Zombie. Me too. So we basically wanted to make, all right, let's do Highlander meets Zombie meets Reservoir Dogs meets Evil Dead with Kung Fu twist and samurai. That's what it is. So we were like, how do we mix everything together? And that's how we started, come up with the story. So I love Lucio Fulci's movie. That's basically what it is. When you ask me what's Versus is about. Yeah, it's basically Highlander with zombie and kung fu and samurai and gangster. That's what it is, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's the perfect combination of all of them.
Thank you. So that's why I got lots of influence from those splatter movies. Yeah.
What do you think of some of the more extreme splatter movies that came from like Japan, like the Guinea Pig series? Are you a fan of those?
To be honest, I'm not really interested in those movies or like a torture porn kind of things. I just feel like, I don't know. I mean, as a fan, and I enjoy everything, but if I want to make that kind of movie, not really. I always, and probably that's why I got the job to do the Midnight Meat Train. I had a meeting with this big boss producer, Tom Rosenberg. He produced $1 Million Baby, and he produced an Underworld. So he's like big producer, and I read the script and I had a meeting with Tom, and he asked me, so what do you think of the script? What do you want to do? So I said, I'm very good. I believe that I'm very good doing action, gore, everything visually. But to me, believe it or not, I'm very interested in doing the character and the story. Without the character and the story, action or gore doesn't really mean to me. So when I read the script of the Midnight Meat Train, I really reflect myself as that Bradley Cooper's character. So I told the producer, this character, photographer, wanna be somebody, but he's nobody, and he's almost 30 years old, and only his girlfriend and best friend still believe in him, and himself losing faith in what can he be. And this is exactly 10 years ago me. I was nobody, no money, no future, and and I was losing faith in myself too. So like 10 years ago me, I met a big Hollywood producer like you, and you asked me, hey kid, why don't you go and kill that kid and bury his dead body somewhere in Nevada desert? I would have done it.
Oh yeah.
I was so desperate. I was so looking for the way out, become somebody. So
that's how I am currently. I can relate.
Yeah, so this character that Bradley Cooper ended up playing, he's like that, That's why he started going to the night shoot, and he take one wrong picture, and he knows that he can't mess with this guy, but he started digging it, and he ended up in hell. So I totally understand this guy. So if I understand the character, I can make the movie. That's all I need to say. So it was the shortest pitch I ever done in this town, and I got it. So I'm even though I'm kind of famous doing this extreme, violence and graphic gore and horror and action, but I always interested in doing the character and the story. So without the real character, real story, I'm not really interested in watching that kind of movie, or I don't want to make that kind of movie.
I think that's why I personally, I mean, I can't speak for other fans, but why I think I liked Versus so much was because there weren't a lot of great horror movies at the time coming out here in America, so I would watch a lot of Korean and Japanese horror movies, and it got to be where it was either a ghost story or something like Guinea Pig, Evil Dead Trap, Oregon, toward the very extreme. There was nothing in between. It was ghost story, torture porn. That was kind of the choice. And then yours came, and it was like just totally different.
Yeah, and yeah, because that's why I believe that's why probably even after 20 years, people still love Versus was that world, that character, that fight. Even the title is Versus. It's all about the fight, right? That reflect me 20 years ago. I was desperate and I was so hungry and I was like, ready to break all the rule to become somebody, So, everything in that character is me, basically. That's why there's something spiritual about that movie.
When in Versus, one of the leads who you worked with a lot was, I hope I don't butcher his name, Tak Sakaguchi?
Mm-hmm.
And you did a lot with him in the beginning. Are we gonna see him in any of your upcoming projects? Maybe.
Maybe you never know. You never know about the future, but because he based in Japan and I based here, so
yeah.
It's everybody has to have a different past, but maybe you never know about the future.
You guys were a good combination, in my opinion. There in the early, he worked very well under your direction, I should say.
Yeah. Of course, Yeah, I mean, and that was the reason that the movie got started. So, yeah, I initially I had a different guy, as that KC2303 character, and he was like my brother, and we've been making movie together for like 3 or 4 years, and but then, human relationship, it's always, friendship, love, everything, it's not that easy, right?
No.
And like I said, I was unknown director, and he was, of course, nobody actor. So, we were struggling even to buy food today. So, after a couple of years of trying, he basically left me, and that was a heartbroken thing, because I thought that, this guy was like my brother. But he basically gave up and he left, so I was kind of lost. And we've been all this time, couple of years struggling and fighting, all this far, and you give up and you disappear. So I was kind of lost. Then I found Taku, and that reignite me. So without Taku, that movie didn't exist. So yeah, he did an amazing job. Mm-hmm.
Well, now that you go back and forth between LA and Japan to do your films, is there anyone that you haven't worked with yet that you would really like to?
Tom Cruise.
Not Sonny Chiba?
I love him. I love him. No, Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay. I'd want to work with Sonny Chiba.
Yeah. No. I mean, Sonny Chiba-san. I just met him like 9 already. Damn, 2020, 9 months ago when I was in Japan. Yeah, I had a coffee with Chiba-san. I know him very well. So we been talking to do something. So might happen. I don't know. Yeah, never know about the future. Never know about this film mystery of the film industry. But no, Chiba-san. Of course, I have a huge respect, and we love each other. So maybe one day we're going to do something.
I remember being a little kid watching the Street Fighter,
of course.
I never, there was never anything like that martial arts wise in the movies. That was pretty extreme. So yeah, I've been a fan since I was, I don't know, 6 years old, I think, and I'm an old man now. So that would be interesting. So what would be interesting too, I have to say it again, let's get best of the best 5 going.
Of course, yeah. So yes, as I said, Philip and I tried to do the movie he's a writer and a producer, but yes, so one of my passion is I need to bring that guy, the legend, in front of the camera. I mean, Philip, he never ages. He still looks
the same.
young, and he's amazing. So yes.
My,
and if I do that, bring Philip the legend back in front of the camera, of course, I tell my brother, stunt coordinator Simon, you have to be in the movie. You have to fight.
Yes.
I always ask both of them, if you guys really fight, which one gonna win?
Ooh, I'm not picking that one.
So yeah, that's one of my passion. That one day in front of my camera, Philip Ree versus Simon Ree. That's what we want to see.
My son, after he saw Best of the Best 2, that's when he saw, of course he knows him as, if I said, hey, Philip Ree, he knows Tommy Lee is how he knows him, but he started studying Taekwondo because of that film. So yeah, he was a pretty big influence on my son when he was younger. His films were.
Of course, I mean, Best of the Best is the best, of course, and
part
especially
two is the best.
Part two is, I love it. Yeah.
And I got taken up quite a bit of your time. Before I let you go, I want to say one more time, we've got the Doorman coming out once again. Everybody needs to pick this up from Lionsgate. Is it going to get any, you think with some theaters being open, is it going to get any type of a limited theatrical run, or is this going to be...
I don't think so in a time like this. I don't think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have some movie theaters are opened up here, but they're in such short capacity. I'd rather get my stuff on demand or on Blu-ray.
I know. So it is, it's kind of disappointing, but everybody... entire world suffered this year, so but at the same time, I believe that movie is kind of like sushi, so you don't really want to keep that for long,
No.
So I'm glad that it's coming out. So yeah, and it was very challenging. I mean, every movie making is challenging, but this was very, very challenging. We shot this movie, most of the movie in Bucharest, Romania, and which is like a different world for us, and challenging every day. But I believe we're very proud of the movie, and in the end, the movie will speak itself, like Versus did, Midnight Meat Train did, because of the Final Wars. So I'm glad that the movie is finally coming out, and Ruby Rose is she was amazing. I mean, I never. We were kind of lost in chaos in the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And Ruby, she had injured from the Batwoman, and it was very challenging for all of us. But not even a single second, Ruby was a crybaby. She was a fighter. I mean, amazing. I love Ruby Rose. I mean, she was always a fighter and never complained. Always in a good mood, and I love her. And working with Simon, I mean, he is really like my brother. He always took care of me, and the Korean stunt team that Simon brought up was amazing, and they made the magic happen. And and the moment the day John Reno arrived, of course, we were just basically turned into fanboy. That's a legend. And some of the legendary actors, when they get old and they get too much fame and money, they don't have any more passion, right? That's sad, but a lot of big stars used to be big stars are like that, right? Mm-hmm. They just come in, they don't even care about the character, they don't remember the line, and they just get the big check and they get out. But John wasn't like that. He wanted to discuss over the Skype even before he came to Romania. He wanted to discuss about the line here, the character here, and so it was amazing to work with John. So every day was so exciting. Yes, we had a very limited time and money, but every scene, John wanted to try this and that, and no, I don't think he would do this. What about this? And we started to basically do this, improvise, session, which was very exciting.
See, and that's always nice to hear, because I mean, I'm not going to say names, but there's action stars, or I guess any star, like you said, when they just kind of phone it in now, so to speak. You know, there's some that I really like that I know they just go for 2 weeks to film the movie. If something's not there, you know, tough luck. So you end up watching a movie where half the dialogue is someone else's voice, and it hurts the film.
Yeah.
It's not the same. When the guy's committed, you can always tell. It makes for a better movie.
I know, and I just don't understand, why some people are like that. I mean, you guys are legend 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and why you have to do that? I mean, I know it's a big paycheck, but you don't have to do that. You have enough money and fame, so better don't do it than do this shitty movies, right? But
Yeah.
there's a lot of people like that, but John Reno wasn't like that. He was so serious about his character, what we were doing, and I was very glad, So it was amazing, I mean, every single actor in the Doorman, I was so super happy. Yep.
Well, we can't wait to watch it. And now, for all your fans out there, are you on social media? Can they follow you on? You have a website, Twitter, Facebook, anything you can?
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I have an Instagram. Yeah.
Well, what are you on Instagram so our people can follow you here?
What do you mean? It's my name.
Just your name.
Kitamura.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to it here in the description. I mean, I want to thank you so much. It's Saturday night. You're taking close to an hour now with me, so
No, of course.
I want to thank you so much, and I'm hoping that when when the next project you have gets going, I can get a good scoop on it.
Great, of course. Yeah. No, thank you for all the support. Without you guys and the fans, what I do doesn't mean anything. So, thank you for support for a long time since Versus.
Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. You have been listening to the Chronicles of Hollywood History. Thank you from Gomez Richmond Productions.